back, listener viewers, to another week of Education, the Teachers Talking Terror podcast, where myself, Mike,
and myself, Courtney,
are back to kick off our last episode before October. And if you remember what October was like last year, we really punished / rewarded ourselves for our horror fandom as we tackled a movie a day and talked about 7 movies each episode. But before we get to October, we do got to finish up the summary of one more movie. And this week we are talking about 1960s Mario Bava debut, Black Sunday. A very, I know you're not familiar with Hammer Horror. It's a British film studio, but they pumped out a lot of just kind of gothic feeling horror films back in the day. They all had this very just castles and proper, and it's like it's a whole aesthetic. It's just an entire aesthetic. And this movie definitely felt like one of those types of films. The Hammer horror films had a lot of Christopher Lee, a name you don't recognize, but a face you probably do. A lot of Christopher Lee, a lot of buxom ladies and tavern clothes. And it's just an entire aesthetic, very fun aesthetic. And this movie definitely feels that vibe a little bit as well. Black and white movie. What are your thoughts on a black and white movie? I don't know if we've really talked about.
Honestly,
I know you're not a fan of subtitles.
Yeah, and I'm also not a fan of dubbed movies, and this one was dubbed.
Yeah, but it's an Italian film.
Yes,
but for an English speaking audience.
Correct. So it's like I won't complain too much, but black and white movies don't bother me at all. I used to hate them, but the more that I've seen like black and white,
it's whatever. Like I've never really understood why it matters. I don't know if people chalk it up to if it's black and white, it has to be old, which isn't true.
That is what I think in my mind.
It's old.
And just because I like to see the color, like I like to see like the darkness of the screen. It would have been cool to see like, when they had come across, can't even think of her name now, but like it would have been neat to see like the dark sky. Like that's how I imagined it. So I want to see it.
We've watched a lot of black and white movies.
We have.
Like this one, the Val Lewton movies, the 9 of the Living Dead. We've watched our share of black and white films for sure. This one really this has got like such a Halloween vibe to it. Not the movie Halloween, but just like the season Halloween. Like there's horror movies. Like there's horror movies you can watch kind of year round that are just scary movies, but they don't really give a vibe or aesthetic to it. But this one, I feel like this is I think it's a perfect like springboard into October, as we've got like witches and vampires and zombies, but they're still. I just feel like they're almost caricature like of, that there's like our lead here, Vaja is a witch, but she's not your like tall hat and broomstick kind of witch,
right?
But she's also not a cast a spell on you, Harry Potter kind of witch. She's just a witch. Movie kicks off with what I think is just a super solid opening scene. Like there's really not a lot of backstory here. We kick off like way back in like it doesn't matter the time frame, but it's like 1600s. Most of the movie takes place in like the 1800s, but this movie kicks off way back, and we've got this witch vampire-esque lady, Vaja. It's just such a goofy name. I'm probably going to just refer to her as Vaja, just because the names in this movie are so like European, and like old European that
this name reminds me of my dad's cancer doctor's name is Asad Vahad.
Okay.
And so I was like, whoa, they're like the same name.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah.
The movie kicks off with she and her lover, Javatich. They are, just like she's tied to a stake, and like she's been turned in by her brother for being a witch.
Yeah.
And she puts a curse on, as witches do. But just it's like kicks off of like we got to get rid of her. We got to get rid of her. We got to get rid of
The other one.
Javatich. But they've got her tied like to. They're going to burn her because she's a witch. But first, they take this like this heavy metal mask, and it's full of inward facing spikes.
Yeah.
And I love it because they bring it right at the camera. They place it on her face. You got your like your hooded henchman with this big mallet. He just drives it. I mean, it just you can almost feel it. Just those spikes embedding into her. She's blood oozing out. She's screaming or whatever. And so it's like they've clearly she's got to be dead. Like, you're dead. She's not dead. And they're going to burn her at the stake. You burn both of them at the stake, but this storm blows in, and they can't burn their bodies. So almost like after watching, you're like, oh, it's like you didn't finish the ritual.
Yes.
You know, and that's it for her backstory. I mean, we're talking like 5 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
And we've got like this metal spiked mask being hammered into a woman's face.
And it's like a huge, like, it's like a mask that you would, like, it looked like one of the animals carved into like a tiki post or something.
Yeah.
Like,
It
was just huge.
Yeah. It's a big one. So then we come to, for the movie's sake, modern time. It's like 200 years later. They throw, there's not a lot of characters in this movie, but they're kind of hard. Like, everybody seems to have an assistant.
Yes.
We've got this doctor.
Everyone's important.
Yeah. We've got a doctor and his assistant. They're going somewhere. Their carriage breaks down. They're waiting for the tow truck. and as they do, they just wander around because, again, everything's horse and carriage. It's going to take a while. Yeah. Well, they come across her tomb, which
and they can see into it, and they can see that she's got this mask on. So to me, that's my first step. Okay, bye. Like, no.
My first one would be back in the 1600s when you like hammered this death mask onto this woman's face and then killed her lover as well. Why are you giving them a proper burial?
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing something to draw attention to their body, like their corpse?
Very true. Yeah.
Like, this would have been like, go dig a hole in the woods, toss them in there, and we're never going to think about them again. But curiosity gets the best of these two guys. They see the death mask. Doctor breaks in, but he's like swinging at a bat or something and breaks the glass, which. That's kind of cool that this glass has been in place for 200 years and no one's ever touched it. The cross above it, which maybe that's why. Maybe since they couldn't burn their bodies, maybe they're like trusting in the Lord to keep their bodies at bay.
Yeah.
So what's this idiot do? He takes her mask off. Yeah. And we see her like actually pretty preserved, like despite the fact of all the open pock marks because of the death spikes
and the little scorpions and stuff, but hey, that's nothing.
And then, as you do in these movies, he cuts his hand and the blood drips onto her. So it's like, now this movie's it's such like comfort food because it doesn't do anything new,
right?
You've got witches. What do you have to do? You got to burn them at the stake. Well, we tried. How do you resuscitate a dead body? You get blood on it. Well, we did it. It's like it's got that. It really gives to me. It's that vibe of like what's almost like a food that will take care of you, but it's never. It's like not your favorite. Almost like a stew or something. Like it always hits the spot, but it's never like. Oh, I can't wait to have that. And so that's what this movie does.
Yeah, I do have a roast in the crock pot.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah. And it's like, you know what? And I'm going to enjoy it like I do every time. I know, what to expect. So we leave Aja again. Like we left her in the 1600s. Now we're leaving her with her mask removed and blood dropped on her face. But these guys are headed back to their carriage and they meet a doppelganger, basically.
Yeah, Katya.
Yeah, who you can't tell me that this woman's lived in the same area as this dead body for 200 years and no one's drawn this resemblance.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, this is where I think it would be neat to see it in color.
yeah.
Because I'm like, when it like looks over and they see her, because it's like she does look like the person that they just
and that's
seen.
the connection for them. It's like they looked over here and then they looked this way and they see the same person.
Yeah.
What do you think of Barbara Steele in this movie? You mentioned last week when we were pulling it up, you're like, hey, that's Barbara Steele.
Yes.
What did you say you knew her from?
Just a minute, because I had seen it. I've got to look it up where I'd seen her.
Barbara Steele gets a lot of credit for being like a scream queen, but I think that's like retrospect.
She's in the Edgar Allan Poe, The Pit and the Pendulum.
Yeah. That same type of
Yes.
So Barbara Steele, I think she was in horror films. I read in the trivia she doesn't like horror films, but she realized that like that's where her bread and butter is, so why not?
Yeah. She has that creepy vibe type look to her.
Cheekbones, and she's got big eyes and the black hair and the pale skin, and it bodes well for a black and white career. So these two doctors meet her. She gives a little bit about her backstory. She lives with her family in a castle, but a lot of people think it's haunted. So naturally, the assistant doctor falls in love with her.
Yeah.
As you do. They continue on their way. Now, we get this fun kind of back and forth because really at this point, like Aja, the story's not been about her, but she's been of every part of this story, the beginning. And so it's like, that is going to be the through line for this movie, but we spend all of our time with these doctors. So cut back to her, his blood brings her back to life. That's all it needed. Just a little bit of blood.
Yeah.
So she reaches out to her former lover telepathically, and he rises from the grave to do her bidding.
Yes.
Now, her family still has. Bless you. Bless you.
Okay, I'm done.
her family still has a royal bloodline.
Yes.
Because some relative of hers is like still a prince, has a castle. Jovetic goes to this castle. Not really sure why.
Yeah.
Other than just like she tells him to go.
Yeah.
We see the power of the crucifix again. So he's he's scared off. But clearly this is 200 years later. So clearly he was not around when I don't even know what relation she would have been. But
yeah,
it's like this prince gets freaked out because of this corpse. And this is where our lines cross over, because the prince has no. There's too many characters. There's too many characters in this movie.
That's what I'm like. I'm looking and I'm like, okay, so this is where.
Oh, you know what just hit me right now? Because I've been looking at first names only. I'm an idiot. I didn't realize till right now that Katia and Aja are the same bloodline.
Yes.
Just to right this moment, I'm like, wait a second. These two chicks got the same last name.
Yeah.
Well, that explains a lot. So,
that's why they look so much alike.
Yeah, but Hollywood, they look alike because they have the same actress. That's why they look alike. So, okay, now got it. This movie makes much more sense now.
Yeah, because
I'm thinking there were like all these fractured families crossing over here.
Because in the beginning of the movie, Aja had told her brother, like, I'm going to like curse your bloodline.
Yeah.
Well, now Katia is that bloodline.
Got it.
So yeah.
Did I mention I've watched 4? I got 4 movie head start. So maybe why I drew blank on some
He's
of
just,
these.
yeah, that's okay.
But yeah, so she's haunting her own bloodline.
Yeah, so that is why I'm assuming Javatich, whatever, is going to the castle, because
Yeah.
that is Asha's bloodline. So
Right.
he's
That
going
makes
there
sense.
to, I mean, I don't know what he's going there for, but yeah. So
Shovel.
yeah. Constantine, Katya's brother,
Yes.
sends someone out.
Yeah, he sends a servant to go get the
Yes.
doctor. The doctor we met earlier.
Yes.
So again, luckily he's in the area.
Yeah. But servant's killed.
Yeah, he didn't make it.
Yeah.
They should have done something more about Javatich.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Javatich goes and gets the doctor.
Yes.
And brings him to the castle.
Mm-hmm.
Which is odd. Brings him to the castle to make him think that his services are needed.
Well, he took him to the crypt.
Oh.
He went there like, right. Your services are needed at the castle. Yeah. Please come with me. And so doctor's like, yeah, okay, here I go. And then he takes him to Asha's
crypt.
Crypt.
Which he's already been to because it was his blood that brought him back to life.
Yeah. And so he gets hypnotized.
Yeah.
And she's like, we need the rest of your blood.
Yeah.
And
then how do you get someone's blood? You kiss them.
Yeah. And now he's a servant.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. If we lived back, in this time, I'm sure it would.
I'd say you got Casey to do things for you, isn't it?
Yeah. I just kissed him.
Just give him a kiss.
And I'm like, now just go do this for me.
That's how it works. So she commands him to, basically, Javatich tried. He got denied by a crucifix. But you're just common folk, so I'm going to send you now.
Yeah.
So she sends the doctor to go to the castle.
Mm-hmm.
First thing he does, he's like, you got to get rid of that crucifix.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess if you're a medical man, you believe in science and flies in the face of religion. So maybe we've got a science versus religion thing going on here, but I really don't think so. I think it's just that was in the way. The one crucifix in this castle. Go in the back door, folks. Find another entrance. Mainly, we got to get rid of the crucifix so that Aja and Javatich can come back later.
Yes.
That's why.
Yeah, because Javatich does come back.
Yeah.
And kills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Asha's got a backward plan here. She's already told the doctor, I need the rest of your blood to come, to completely rejuvenate myself.
Mm-hmm.
And now her plan is to drain Katya of all her life.
Yes, since she is just the reincarnation of her.
And because Barbara Steele's tired of playing 2 roles.
Yeah, she just wants one.
So then we meet another woman,
Yeah, now we've got Sonya in the picture now because the doctor's assistant is like, what? I can't believe the doctor ditched his patient.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And so little Sonya's like, I saw Javatich take him to the castle and do this, and kind of goes off. So
she's our exposition piece.
Yes. That
one character that has all the details that other characters don't have.
Yeah. And so she finds this painting.
Yeah, because right now nobody knows who Javatich is.
Right.
Because
and she's like,
he's been dead for 200 years.
That's who took the doctor.
It was him.
Yeah. And so they're like, okay, a priest and
the assistant,
Gorobek, the assistant, head to the grave, and they find the doctor's body in Javatich's grave.
Right. And they got to kill him.
Yeah, because now he's one of the undead.
Because he's their servant.
Yeah.
So
So they put a nail through his eye.
Right. What'd you think of the gore in this movie?
I think it would have been better if it were color, because when the blood came through Asha's mask, it was like clear looking, like it wasn't dark, so it almost looked like tears. And I'm like, it would have been better because like when Jovetic pulled the mask off, like you could see that there were cobwebs, or was it ooey gooey? Like, I don't know.
You wanted more gore.
That's where, and or color.
Right.
That is where I do feel like black and white lacks.
And I agree to a degree. I think this movie is pretty gory for 1960.
Yeah. Talking, I mean, when it was filmed, 100%.
No, this is the same year Psycho came out. And that shocked the world just because we never saw a knife hit her flesh.
Right.
But we saw a woman like murdered in the shower, and people were like, I'm never showering again.
Yeah.
And it's like, that was the same year. And then you watch this and you're like, they just put steel stakes in that woman's head. Like,
I agree.
Like, in today, that's nothing. Like, you remake a movie like this, it's like, this is like, that's all you got.
Yeah.
But like, that was pretty,
and
pretty advanced.
I also feel like maybe a little bit of, I don't know, like maybe some more sound effects. I don't necessarily remember hearing like a little, like I don't know, I can't make it with my mouth.
Enough?
Right. Yes. Like if I think a nail's going to go through my eye, like I'm thinking it's going to be like a squish and then like a, because it's broken through the bonage and stuff back there. So yeah, I don't know. But it was I mean, nowadays, if we had this film, then it would be like that.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, this would be a very tame film for today's audiences. But I'm like, this movie's 64 years old.
Yeah, it did. It's a good movie.
And this is this director's debut film. Like, he's never made a feature length film before. I'm like, back to that comfort food connection of like, it's like there's just enough to be like, yeah, this guy took some risks for 1960. And so we're kind of moving on towards our third act here. Jovetic just keeps killing.
Yeah, like he's off with Constantine now.
Yeah,
like
he's gotten rid of Kashia's brother, Constantine. And now we got the face off here. He's taking Kashia to see Aja because Aja, again, not strong enough to go do all this bidding. So she's still kind of operating from the crypt telepathically to Jovetic. So she brings Kashia to Aja, and she does what she set out to do. Like, she drains her youth from, like, I am you now. Until we see another crucifix, like such a strong symbol in this film. But again, we're talking like witches and vampires, and so that little crucifix around her neck is enough to stop her, and buys time for Gorback, the assistant. He comes to save Kashia, but again, nobody seems to account for Jovetic.
Right, like, this man's just wandering around. It's not even like he hasn't been identified. Like, we've identified him now.
Yeah. And so we think that Jovetic is about to kill Gorback, the assistant. Constantine, in the death pit, like, uses just his last ditch effort and pulls Jovetic in there with him instead and saves Gorback. So now Jovetic is out of the picture. Constantine's out of the picture. Gorback's still alive, and we got Aja and Kashia, and of course Kashia's cross. Gorback comes upon the women. Aja she's now pretending like.
Yeah, it's like one of those movies. It's like, no, they're the bad guy. No, they're the bad guy. Yeah. Like, and it's like, who do I shoot?
Yeah. Tell me something only I would know.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do definitely get this. She's the witch, not me. He's gonna go, actually, like, he believes Aja that he's going to kill Kasia. But then notices the crucifix, knowing a crucifix and a witch don't mix.
Mm-hmm.
So when he sees that crucifix and it's not hurting her, realizes, aha, I've been had. Um,
Yeah.
and we got a really cool, like out of nowhere piece here where he then turns to Aja and like rips her robe open
Yeah.
and just
Just
skeleton.
skeleton.
But it's not like you're like
It's not
goofy,
like
like just
science class skeleton.
exactly. It's not your science lab
Like
skeleton. It's rib cage
yeah,
and
it's something that's been rotting for 200
yeah,
years.
it was fun because
Yeah.
I had forgotten about that. But it's like, oh, yep, you found the right
Uh-huh.
woman. Um, luckily, at this moment, the priest shows up, and again,
Thank
and
goodness.
just like these comfort foods, brings a bunch of villagers. They all have
Uh-huh.
torches. Like it's just got that like classic horror film feel to it. They finally burn Aja. 200 years later, they finally end her torment by actually burning her alive. Um, and then Kasia wakes up, and luckily Gorbeck was the one that
Yeah.
fell in love with her anyway, so that they're reunited, and
He
it
was
feels
still
so good.
there. That's right.
Very just a very safe film. Like there's no real twist to it. You've got your 3 act structure. Like it is just a very effective and safe like horror film. And it being in the 60s, you're not running into language, you're not running into a ton of violence. It's just
Mm-hmm.
lumbering monsters, and it's like some visuals. You're going to have some of those visuals that, like, if you were to show this, to someone younger, they may be like,
Yeah.
ooh. But I don't know. I really like this movie. I
It
really like
was
this movie.
good.
So I
It
think,
wasn't like one that I would turn on if I saw it playing on
right,
TV.
yeah, yeah.
I'd
If I'm
probably be
flipping through
like,
the channels, I'm not going to get
yeah.
excited to see
But
it.
it
But
was not bad.
something like in our format like this, where it pops up, like, oh, well, yeah, I'll watch Black Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are you going to grade it?
I'm gonna give it a B. Just because I do feel like it lacked some of the quote unquote scary things that I like
Right.
in movies. But it was still good.
Yeah, I was leaning towards a B as well. For that, some of the same reasons. It's, again, back to my connection to like comfort food.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my favorite,
Right.
but it gets the job done.
Yes.
It definitely was not the worst way to spend an hour and a half. Um, but again, it's like, it's reliable. It's there.
Mm-hmm.
It's, if it's on and there's nothing else on, I'm gonna be fine watching it.
Yeah.
The names are the hardest part of the story to keep track of, because
Yeah.
it is a very straightforward horror film.
Yeah.
Like you're not losing. I mean, even if we just called them Doctor One, Doctor Two, like, you'd be able to follow it. It would be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I do. I like this film. I really like this film. Which character would you connect with most?
Oh my. If you can go first. Give me a minute to think on this.
Okay.
I forget that we do this, so now I'm like,
You get put on the spot. I would say, if I had to, which character do I connect with most out of here? Probably Javatich. I know it seems
you're
like,
just killing everyone.
no, but I like, again, he's Aja's lover, and I have a hard time saying the word no. So, like, if my wife wants me to do anything, I pretty much just do it. I don't question a whole lot, because it's
Yeah.
like, it is just going to lead to arguing and some bitterness. And it's like, as long as it's not anything too crazy, she's never asked me to kill a person. But in that regard, like, yeah, I do what my lover wants me to do. So I'd say I'm Javatich. How about you? There's your minute.
There's my minute. Okay, I'm gonna go with the doctor's assistant.
Gorbeck.
Yeah, because I don't really ever want to be in charge, but I do want to help out and do things.
Okay.
And I just feel like sometimes when people get into rough spots or like something, like I'm like, I can help. Like I want to help you. And I feel like he wanted to help the doctor because he's like, I can't believe you just abandoned that person. Like,
Right. That's fair. That's fair. And you like to be the hero.
Yeah.
You do. So, well, that puts a wrap on this week, this format for a month.
Yeah.
Next week, we are going to travel down the path of weariness as we bludgeon ourselves with daily horror films. Something that I think you're going to struggle with this year.
What?
I think you will. Our our living situations have changed in the last year.
Tremendously.
Yes. You now have more things to do.
I now have a child.
Yeah. And I now have more time to do them.
Yeah.
As like I mentioned, I am now just a review of our format for October. I mentioned it at the beginning of the show, but we plan, we've already mapped out a calendar for the month.
Yes.
And how our format usually rolls is I pick a movie, you pick a movie, we shuffle a movie, and then we go off the 100 must-see horror film poster, and that's how we rotate that each, in our normal episodes. But for the month, we're kind of doing that same approach, but it's, I think it's like me, you shuffle, and then we cover like that seventh day of the week. We take one off the poster, and so last year we didn't reveal what they were in advance. I don't think we did. I think we just talked about them.
Right.
Because otherwise we'd have to give the whole week away.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be lightning round as we cover I like the format we did last year. We quickly talk about the movie. We each share our thoughts on the movie and then we give it a grade. Mm-hmm. And so, because we're covering 7 movies in a week, so it's going to take a little bit longer.
And we rated them.
Yeah.
We ranked them.
Yes. And then at the end of the episode, we rank how we viewed them. So that sometimes, I remember there was one week last week that your favorite movie was like my least favorite movie.
Yes.
Of the week.
Like my number 1 was your number 6. And I was
something like that. Yeah. And so, yeah, I really like the format. I think it's a lot of fun. And so I'm looking forward to going down that pipeline of, it's a fun change in format. Mm-hmm. And so next week we've got some good ones. I had to skip one because I want to watch it with my wife. But yeah, so we're gonna tackle 7 movies next week. This also forces us to be on task.
Yes.
To where we have to record each week. We can't put 2 weeks between or a week and a half between. We really got to get after it.
We've got this.
And so, you've got some movies to watch. I've got a head start as it's technically not October until Tuesday. And I'm already 4 movies in, but that's okay. Because it's all about the recordings. So
that's right.
Social media wise, you could find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I really got to update the Letterboxd account. It's been a while. But I don't think anybody's finding us from there, so I'm not overly too concerned about it. But yeah, so another week of education. I am looking forward to next month as we're going to cover 31 movies. And again, if we need to make any changes floating through, make sure you keep us updated. As I've already printed off my calendar. So, all right. So for another week of education, I'm Mike,
and I'm Courtney,
and we'll see you guys next week with 7 films to talk about.
Bye.